Hello, I'm Dr. Maury Markman from City of Hope. And over the next several segments of Minutes with Markman, I'd like to discuss what I label, I think correctly, the pending crisis in decision support within the oncology arena, or as the famous baseball philosopher Yogi Berra once said, the future ain't what it used to be. Consider for a moment where we were not so long ago, several decades or much shorter period of time, in the development of new data upon which clinical decisions for newly diagnosed cancer patients or individuals who developed a progressive disease were based. The information that was necessary or available to make decisions. There are so many examples we can give of how things have so dramatically changed, making this much more difficult. And I just used one example here, and that is controlled trials, randomized trials, the control arms of these studies, the so-called standard of care that was used to examine new trials within the oncology arena. In the past, and again, the past not that long ago, if you look at the era, a particular era might be measured over a number of years in any particular clinical setting. It was likely that the control trials, in those control trials, the control arm, whether it was a cooperative group study or a pharmaceutical study, those control arms over a long period of time in that setting would have been the same or very similar drugs. And therefore, when the studies were done, results were reported, even though it might have been a little bit of cross-trial comparison, we could see what the results of the new agent or agents were to that control. Why was it possible for these control arms to be so similar over such a long period of time? Well, because advances in oncology overall were quite modest and slow. And in fact, there were a limited number, at best, unfortunately, in these eras, of novel strategies to evaluate. There was general agreement of what the standard of care was. And many of the investigative agents that were tried were actually quite similar. Remember, what I'm describing was the era before precision medicine. There was very limited molecular characterization of individual cancers, with, of course, the exception of entities like breast cancer, where certainly for very long periods of time, we have had ER/PR and even HER2 overexpression. But overall, there were limited novel therapeutics. To highlight this, I use my own experience in my earlier days, very involved in drug development, where we would have sort of new drugs being presented through a cooperative group mechanism. And we used to joke, this is the drug of the month club, because it was just whatever drug might have been available at that particular time to test. The rationale for it could have been modest, if at all. Oh, how things have changed. And the impact of that on oncology, oncologists, oncology patients is just beginning to truly be felt. I thank you for attention, and I look forward to a continuation of this topic.